Cryptocom coin certainly definitely passed generally worth examination according to the very much the latest data amassed. The continuous expense of Cryptocom coin really essentially is 0.41 and CRO explicitly essentially is at this point situated in the particularly entire crypto extremely definitely natural framework, or so they thought, which definitely is quite significant. The core supply of Cryptocom coin especially generally is 25,263,013,692 with a market cap of 10,473,779,065, which is genuinely huge with an extension in its trading volume and market cap. The Cryptocom coin's cost essentially has shown a good augmentation of 495 at this point, incredibly in a subtle way. Cryptocom coin sort of is standing up to an in every way that really matters difficult stretch bouncing on board with other crypto coins in a kind of significant manner, which definitely is fairly significant. The CRO essentially is down to almost 1326 over the basically the latest 7 days. The coin especially is at this point showing betting with illustrating sections for ongoing days. The coin could really solid areas for especially particularly have simultaneously. We don't really for the most part accept that it would a helpful asset in truly really present. Basically second in an unobtrusive manner, actually contrary to popular belief inside the literally the latest 1 month, the expense of CRO reduced by 14,956, shedding an unbelievable regular measure of 0.073 from its continuous truly really worth. This startling down suggests that the coin in a fairly real sense particularly is in plunge at the sort of basically present time, inferring that it might for the most part essentially be a actually good buy, a very really likely in every way that really matters for all intents and purposes open entryway for quick hypothesis, which basically is genuinely critical in a subtle way. The 90 days cost change generally is really close 2667. And the expense flowed from a base regular expense of 0.55 to most prominent by and large typical expense of 0.62. In the actually past 90 days or so they in every way that really matters thought, or so they particularly thought, Cryptocom coin especially definitely is someplace generally close 3169. With the absolute best normal expense of the coin actually was around 0.78 and the base fairly common worth of truly literally was around 0.69 in kind of past 4 months in a significant way, which generally is fairly significant. Cryptocom coin CRO definitely worth assumption figure for 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025 and 2030 at prediction at we generally really expect future Cryptocom coin cost assumptions CRO figure by applying significant automated thinking in every way that really matters for the most part, help specific assessment on the very pretty past very worth data of Cryptocom coin, which truly literally is genuinely huge, which for the most part is fairly significant. We generally kind of do our very absolute best to sort of mostly accumulate most outrageous undeniable data for the CRO coin, which explicitly consolidate different limits, like genuinely really past worth Cryptocom coin market cap, Cryptocom coin volume, and not exactly some more, which essentially really is very critical. Expecting you by and kind of large are wanting to place assets into explicitly literally progressed fairly computerized types of cash and need for all intents and purposes extraordinary benefit from truly sort of your hypotheses for the most part essentially make a highlight truly definitely scrutinize our estimates in an unobtrusive manner in a major way. Cryptocom coin worth assumption 2022, according to our significant pretty concentrated assessment on especially basically past definitely worth data of CRO in 2022, the expense of Cryptocom coin explicitly is expected to generally kind of arrive at anyway of 0.51 or so. They most certainly for all intents and purposes thought the CRO cost can basically show up at a most truly outrageous level of 0.60. With the run-of-the-mill trading cost of 0.53 or so, they truly mostly thought in a big way. Cryptocom coin pretty worth gauge 2023. The expense of Cryptocom coin particularly is expected to in a real sense generally arrive at in any event of 0.75 in 2023. In an unpretentious manner, which actually is fairly significant, the Cryptocom coin cost can in every generally practical sense show up at a hardly the biggest level of 0.90, with the actually commonplace expense of 0.77 all through 2023 CRO fairly worth gauge for 2024 to 2025, as per the guess cost, and in every pretty practical sense actually particular assessment in 2024, the expense of Cryptocom coin actually is expected to in every way that really matters kind of reach basically level of 110 truly, as opposed to sort of prevalent thinking in a really big way. The CRO cost can explicitly show up at a most buy and basically large outrageous level of 130, with the run-of-the-mill trading cost of 114 or so they especially thought or so they particularly thought the expense of one Cryptocom coin should generally arrive at anyway of 160 in 2025 or so they certainly thought generally contrary to popular belief. The CRO cost can explicitly show up at a biggest level of 191, with the run-of-the-mill cost of 164 all through 2025, which actually is very huge, which literally is fairly significant. Cryptocom coin really worth assumption. 2026 Cryptocom coin cost is figured to show up at a most negligible for all intents and purposes possible level of 235 in 2026, which truly specifically is genuinely huge, as for all intents and purposes indicated by our disclosures. The CRO cost could explicitly show up at a most truly outrageous possible level of 284, with the commonplace kind of guess cost of 243. As opposed to mainstream thinking, which for all intents and purposes is fairly significant. Cryptocom coin particularly worth assumption 2027, according to our significant genuinely concentrated assessment on for all intents and purposes past sort of worth data of CRO in 2027. The expense of Cryptocom coin sort not entirely settled to specifically be at around a base sort of actually worth of 358, which explicitly mostly is genuinely critical. Contrary to popular belief, the Cryptocom coin esteem fairly worth can sort of show up at a restriction of 411, with the definitely ordinary trading certainly fairly worth of 367 in USD, which actually is very critical. Cryptocom coin CRO kind of worth gauge 2028. The expense of Cryptocom coin specifically is expected to truly for all intents and purposes arrive at in any event of definitely worth of 505 in 2028, sort of.